Sí. La droga. One of the things of realizing that we are alive is to understand and to be sensitive to change. Spirituality is higher sensitivity. So to be more spiritual is to be more sensitive to the changes in your life. I remember a period in my past where I was feeling numb, where I was feeling like if nothing was changing, if I wasn't growing, and it felt like dying. And it's basically this lack of sensitivity, this lack of awareness of how your life is changing, even if you think it's not. So connecting with this idea of sensitivity is the idea of drugs. At some point in the past, I saw a piece of information, I saw a video that was arguing how everything is a drug. Because it's something that you take inside your organism, inside your being, and it modifies your consciousness. It modifies just your perceptions of life or your state of mind. And you become more tolerant to it, and you become addicted. So I have some videos over there where I ask, like, to which point oxygen can be a drug, to which point love can be a drug, water can be a drug. Depends on how sensitive you are. If you are very sensitive, if your being is in a very sensitive level, if you are experiencing high sensitivity, if you are spiritual, oxygen is the most powerful drug you can expose to. Without oxygen, there is no other process, physiological process, that we know so far, or that I know to my humble knowledge. So drugs, after all, are affecting the production level of different neurochemicals like dopamine or serotonin. Love, for example, produces oxytocin, and these have an effect. So how sensitive you are. So you need to take cocaine to increase your serotonin and dopamine levels, to alter the dopaminergic levels. Can you become sensitive enough to not need drugs, to simply breathe, to simply eat, and to enjoy so much to be alive, so much to be where you are? So then the drug, after all, is oxygen. It's ultimately oxygen. It's how much can you put your threshold down so everything becomes a drug and you become addicted to life. But then you crave, you suffer. So then you have to move to Buddhism to learn how to don't be attached to life. But really, it's such a high level. Like I include myself, most of us are far away from that level. We assume that we are craving life and we understand it as normal, and it's okay. It's something that is normal, it's healthy even, to be addicted to life. So life is a drug. So from here to, I can go more plain, more practical level, tobacco, alcohol. To which point do you need that to feel good? Can you meditate? Can you put your sensitivity threshold low enough to calm yourself without tobacco? Can you put your sensitivity thresholds low enough to notice your social anxiety so you can deal with it and you don't need alcohol when you interact with other people? When you feel at peace, when you feel comfortable with yourself, so you don't need to drink alcohol. And then, when you have these sensitivities to drugs, to substances, then you can start taking them. And then you can start taking the dose that you need. And then you can notice if that substance is making you actually happier or more peaceful, or is harming you in the short term and in the long term. But before taking any drugs, explore your own levels of sensitivity, explore your own levels of awareness, get to know yourself, so you will not have any bad trip. You will be conscious and aware enough to drink if you want to drink, and to know how much do you want to drink, to know how much do you want to alter your own consciousness. If you know what's your consciousness state, because it's not stable, it's always changing. But if you know what's your consciousness state before drinking, and you think, okay, I want to become less worried or more disinhibited, more social, so you can focus on that, and you can say, okay, I will drink until this point, but then you will avoid any kind of overdose. So I'm not against drugs, because we can consider everything is a drug. I'm pro awareness, I'm pro consciousness, I'm pro spirituality, I'm pro sensitivity. And then we can move to a very spiritual drugs, which can come from marijuana to peyote to psilocybin to these psychedelics. So how sensitive you are to life to need these drugs also. But I think those drugs are game changers. But again, then the question is, how much are you sensitive to yourself? How much do you know about yourself, so you are willing to take and try? Because these drugs go to the deepest levels of the mind, to your beings, to your essential. I haven't tried them, so I cannot talk. And after my Vipassana experience, where the teacher told me, don't take psychedelics at any cost, at any circumstance, avoid those at all cost, because I was already very aware of this. Okay, I cannot say that. I was getting in contact with these deeper levels of the mind, and I was afraid and I was scared, but I hadn't taken any drug, so I could withdraw from it. I could say, okay, I'm not ready, I want to go out. So if you have taken peyote, if you have taken ayahuasca, if you have taken psilocybin, you go straight to the deeper levels of the mind, and you are in a file of consciousness that you might not be prepared for. So it's dangerous. In the experiments, people take them with professionals, with psychologists, and the effects are amazing. They really make us question, assume beliefs that we have about these substances. Like, it's supposed that they are dangerous, they make people go crazy, but then people that are in the last stages of terminal cancers, they are gonna die. They take psilocybin with psychologists, and when they came out from the journey, from the trip, when the substance stopped functioning in their brain, they take their life differently. They assume their death, they reconsider their role in life, and they are more peaceful. It works with tobacco, it works with depression. The best antidote, the best substance we know to fight tobacco addiction is psilocybin, or it looks like it's psilocybin. The best antidote, the best antidepressant we have, it looks is psilocybin. In very specific ways, in very trained ways, so to say. So we need training to take those substances, to be exposed to these substances. We need safety environments. So I'm not against those substances, but I'm pro understanding them. I'm pro getting to know the context where we can take them in the right dose for the right person. Maybe my dose is 0 and I'm happy with it, and I can explore my mind and I can go deeper into my mind and my spirituality and my life without these drugs. I don't know if everyone is like this. I like to call myself super energetic and mention that I have hypersensitivity to many things. And I like to think in this bias of the mind, like most of the people are like me. It might not be so. So maybe for some people, experiencing with drugs is useful. and helps them to realize all these things we are not aware of, we don't know anything about of ourselves, about our minds. So yeah, my advice is, before trying, explore yourself in a more stable way, in a more knowable state of your mind. So, I mean, if you get anxious, if you get worried, if you get depressed, if you don't know how to handle your own emotions without drugs, don't risk. Understand yourself first without drugs. Get to know yourself. Get to know what are the patterns of your mind. When do you become stressed? When do you become anxious? When do you become sad? And then once you know that from yourself and you try drugs, the moment you start to get anxious, you said, okay, it's because I thought about this. It's because I start to have this sensation in my body. So if you are able to cut these paths, these consequences, you can take drugs more safely, and you can get into new levels of your mind probably and start to explore them, your mind and your body and your being. So know yourself and then explore safely.